welcome everybody to the 6th celebration of Great Weather for Media's anthology, Paper Teller Diorama. Woo-woo! So today we're very happy to have with us eight of our contributors, 8 wonderful poets and writers. And I am very happy to be co-hosting today with my lovely co-host, Mary McLaughlin Slechta. And my name is Lyndsey Ellis. So without further ado, since we have such a jam-packed show and we're very excited to get this rolling, I'm just going to jump right into it. So our first contributor, is Jeff Katrel. Jeff Katrel is a journalist, fiction writer, and spoken word artist based in Toronto, Canada. He has headlined in countless literary series throughout Canada, the UK, and the USA over the past 20 years. Jeff has authored 4 chapbooks and recorded 3 CDs, and he has recently completed his 7th or 8th attempt at a first novel. Everybody welcome Jeff.
Thank you very much, Lyndsey. I should update that bio a bit. That 7th or 8th attempt at a first novel is coming out next month. I will give more details later on in the chat here and also on the Facebook video. So I will start with the poem that's in the anthology. I don't remember the page. I think it's 20-something. If you want to follow along, follow the bouncing ball. This is called How to Make Money in Poetry. I look in your eyes, and I see the shadows of eternities. They call to me like a wild wolf in the desert, like a burning hunger that cries in the night, like an autumn breeze dancing gently on my soul's white grave, like a whispered secret in the dawn of the sunset, like a sweaty-toothed cat ablaze in the midnight sun. I look in your eyes, and my heart races like a bitter fawn in the manger, and all I want to feel is your soft and gentle touch, as soft and gentle as the touch of Beauregard. Beauregard. Only the soft, cottony touch of Beauregard offers the complete satisfaction you want. No other bathroom tissue guarantees such high quality and fast savings. Soft as a kitten, gentle as a lamb, smooth as a newborn baby's skin. America loves Beauregard toilet paper like no other. The preferred bathroom tissue of this year's national bobsled team. Go Biscuits! Beauregard toilet paper is available in 8 or 16 rolls or in the jumbo pack. Ask your local supermarket which size is right for your needs. Beauregard. Now back to the poem. We feel our breaths mingle in the air, and I can taste the sweet flavor of love in your destiny, like the sweat of a rhino yearning for better days, like the heart of a child beating for the memories of sour dolls, like the horns of a thief in the night shrieking for the ends of time, like the heat of a golden calf throbbing to the rhythm of the moon. We feel our breaths mingle in the air, and as a shuddering eye blinks in the Memphis sky, I feel myself crawl inside you with graceful symmetry, and I hold you close, treasuring your body and soul like a jewel, like precious jewelry from Nutty Neal's. Because Nutty Neal pays cash for your used jewelry. Cash, cash, cash. Gold rings, gold earrings, diamonds, silver, pearls, rhinestone, he'll give you cash. Why wait? Go now to your jewelry box. Bust open your safe deposit box. Bring all your jewels to Nutty Neal and he'll give you the best deals in town. Even if it's broken or scrap, he'll buy it. With the deals he gives you, you'll have to wonder if he's nuts. Maybe he is. Call 905-555-NUTY right now or drop by the shop at 663 Eglinton Avenue. This is not a front for anything sinister. Nutty Neal's Jewelry Emporium. Now back to the poem. I feel my love burst in a nutmeg explosion, kissing the night with a rainbow Nelson and a titter, like a filtered hallmark choking on the words of life, like a tricycle passenger with a nostril in heat, like a vampire shark and all that it represents to God, like an albatross that bought the wrong bus ticket while drunk, like a false witness to the deans of... Your ad could be right here. We're selling ad space in this poem, and this spot could be yours. With our help, you can reach new markets for your product or service. Advertise with us, and we will keep your business competitive and profitable. Great rates available for 30-second spots, 1-minute spots, even 2-minute spots. For a reasonable extra charge, we'll even grant you influence over the poem's content and themes. To learn more about how this poem can help your team maximize your revenue over the next fiscal year, call 1-800-555-POEM. Now back to the poem. To the deans of eternity, I surrender myself and pledge my love to you. This poem was brought to you by Bargain Jimmy's Chicken Nuggets. Bargain Jimmy's, serving you and your family prime chicken nugget goodness since 1953. So now you know how to make money in poetry. And I will, my second one here is one I've done a bunch of times. I'm sure some of you have heard it before. It's called Salesman. Slightly similar theme, actually. Good morning, Mr. Heath. So glad you could make time to see me today. You're one of my favorite customers. How's everything at Heath Widgets Inc.? Good, good. Selling a lot of widgets, bringing in the profits. I'd like to think we've been playing a big role in your success. How's your wife these days? Good, good. She's doing well. And that son of yours, how's he? Oh, he died 2 years ago in a freak road accident. That's terrible. So sorry for your loss. But let's get straight to the point. Kick Nuts Industries has the best interest of you and your business top of mind. I see that your Kick Nuts contract is due for renewal, so I'd like to take a quick review of your account. I see you've been on the Kick Nuts Silver program, which entitles you to receive 2 kicks in the nuts every business day for a full year. The annual price of the Silver program has increased to $799 plus taxes. It's our most popular program, so I'm going to go ahead and confirm your renewal right now. What's that? You don't want to renew the Silver program? You don't think it's justifying the cost? Listen, I get that you want to see monetary results right away, but I've told you the Kick Nuts solution doesn't work like that. It's not like buying widgets where you pay the money and you get the widget right in your hand. With Kick Nuts Industries, we help you build brand awareness in your market, which leads to higher revenue and increased profit. That's not a quick fix. It's a process that takes time. But I'll tell you what, have you thought about upgrading to our Gold program? The Gold program entitles you to receive 4 kicks in the nuts every business day for a full year. And as it happens, we've got a special on right now for the Gold program. You can have it for only $1,599 plus taxes. It's a steal, Mr. Heath, so I'm going to go ahead and confirm your upgrade right now. What's that? You don't want to upgrade to the Gold program. You're a little skeptical that it's right for you. Listen, I know how scary it is to make a change, but that's a part of life, Mr. Heath. You've got to take risks. If you don't take risks, nothing ever evolves and your company stagnates. We're just trying to help you grow your business and fulfill your market potential with our unique talents and expertise. But I'll tell you what, as it happens, the Gold program is now available with a special offer. On top of the standard 4 kicks in the nuts every business day, we can give you 2 nipple yankings for an extra $500. Again, that's 4 kicks in the nuts and 2 nipple yankings every business day for a full year at the low price of $2,099 plus taxes. It's a rare opportunity, Mr. Heath, so I'm going to go ahead and confirm your upgrade right now. What's that? You don't want to upgrade to the Gold program with extra benefits. Well, I don't know what to tell you, Mr. Heath. I'm giving you the best of the best that Kick Nuts Industries has to offer. I'm giving you the kind of value added that Fortune 500 companies would kill for. But I'll tell you what, I'm not really supposed to do this, but you're one of my favorite customers, and I sure want to keep this relationship going for at least another year. What I can do is arrange things down at the office so that you get our services exclusively from our finest nut kicker, Sal. I'm telling you, Sal's been in the nut kicking business for more than 30 years, and he trained with the master nut kickers in Europe and Asia. I put my complete faith in Sal. On top of that, I can offer you free courtside seats to that big basketball playoff game happening next Saturday. Ah, you like sports. I should have known. Lots of people like sports. Well, maybe there's more sports where that came from, Mr. Heath. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm your upgrade right now. 4 kicks in the nuts and 2 nipple yankings every business day for a full year, all from my guy Sal, and lots of sports tickets too, all for the unbeatable price of $3,099 plus taxes. Just sign the contract here. Beautiful. I look forward to our continued working relationship, Mr. Heath. My best wishes for your wife and your son. Good luck. Thank you. That was called Salesman. And just to let you know, my novel Hate Story is going to be out next month. And there's going to be a big Zoom launch party in March. And yeah, so I will put fun links to that in the chat here and on Facebook. And thank you again for including me in the anthology. It was an honor.
Woo, oh my gosh, Jeff. Everybody give it up for Jeff again. What a lively opening. Oh my goodness, coming in with a bang. Thank you so much for that, Jeff. Love your delivery, and the poems were just dynamite. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing your novel, and Jeff is going to put that all in the chat so you guys can keep up and follow along with information about that. So our next contributor is a Black woman writer and Philadelphia native, Alexis V Jackson, who earned her MFA from Columbia University School of the Arts in 2018, where she was a Chair's Fellow. Erica Hunt selected Jackson's forthcoming collection, My Sister's Country, as second place winner of the Core Press Institute's 2019 Poetry Prize. Her work can be found in 805 Lit Plus Art and Jubilat. She lectures in the University of San Diego's English department. Everybody give it up for Alexis.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. So thankful for the opportunity to be featured amongst all of these amazing poets in the anthology. I do want to give a shout out to Pam Pesco-Salido. I worked in her bookstore in the Berkshires, Massachusetts. Great local bookstore if you're ever there. It's called the Book Loft, and you can also support them by purchasing copies from them, including my new book. I have to plug it, but it drops, our pub date is January 31st. So 9 days, I think, at this point. So I'm super excited with this being my first collection. I will start. I'm actually going to set my little phone timer because I want to make sure I don't take time from anybody else. So make sure I don't go over time. Oh, no, not that. Stopwatch. I'm going to share a screen because the poem featured in the anthology, I think seeing it helps, and I'll of course explain a little bit. All right, can everyone see that? Okay, good. This one was not featured, and then I'll go ahead and go on to the one in the anthology and tell you the page number as well. Confrontation practice. I love myself until I hear my father ask, what's market value for something like writer, something like poet, something like my auntie telling stories I can still hear in my dreams, stories she knit together for pleasure, but never penned down, something like Wheatley's manumitted poverty or Zora's dictum for floral formal from white benefactors, something like Brooks winning the Pulitzer in darkness because a poet can't always afford to pay the light bill on time because the light bill can't always afford a poet because timing and line breaks are everything. When I hear something like, you can't eat art, I say something like, at least my hunger big and fills me in the future with what it doesn't even know how to ask for. And then I'm back in love with myself, in love and unashamed. So thank you. That poem, I'll say it. This poem was especially fun to write. I teach, as you all know, I teach also at University of San Diego, and I think my students, my creative writing students, are always trying to figure out how poems going to make money, right? Same with the poem we just heard, right? Like, what do you do with advertisements? How does this all work? And so when we study the poets' lives, the things that strike them the most about these things often include hearing these stories. So I wanted to talk about that. The second poem is the poem in the anthology, and if you're following along, it's going to be on page 24. The songs of ascents are 15 of the songs. They are attributed to David and traditionally were sung on their way up to Jerusalem for celebration of any of those holy days, also called songs of degrees. So this poem is after that form structurally, which is something I was interested in toying with, and I'll go ahead and read it and then say more. Song of Ascents, after Psalm 124, the King James Version. If it had not been believed that high heels and hymens brokered access to a specific kindness, a kindness dirty grinned and head cocked, if it had not been told the story of the cousin who teenaged and excited once bore his whole manhood to my 3-year-old mother, so now we don't hug him, then maybe I would have been less afraid to kiss one, a boy, a man. Then maybe I would have been less nervous being alone with anyone's father while his daughter went looking for any lost necessary thing. Then I might have been more comfortable sirening my way into wallets, pleasure and surety seamlessly woven into girls' locker room sensation. Blessed be the girl child protected, for not even Mary could say no. Our soul is yet and still ours, our help, perhaps this poem, so close to familiar that it stones. So with this form in particular, I wanted to toy with that idea of this being a song sung on its way up to celebration, and how that in thinking through exactly what it is to be woman and Black in this particular situation, and growing up understanding how that impacts who you are in society, thinking about what leading to that celebration would be, and what that even would sound like if sung or said or chanted even in verse. That's that one. And my last piece, Two Who Are Mostly Good. This one was featured, I think, in Jelly Bucket. This is, of course, written for and during the time of the pandemic, and that I would say emotionally trying time, for lack of a better term, that crossed with Black Lives Matter as well. So there were protests happening literally like up the street from us, where they dropped tear gas and all of that, and we didn't know anything about it during the time that we're transitioning to teaching online and being stuck in our home. So this poem was written around that time. Two Who Are Mostly Good, of course, the title after Gwendolyn Brooks. For the Black folk daring to love in 2020. What does one do to protest when one is Black and woman in city, sandy, white, and military? My lover, like Yahweh, is prone to the hyperbolic, never leaving nor forsaking, his anger always just and provoked. But he is numb and unmoved this lynching season. I am unsure of my capacity to move. The music, Daddy changed the world. I miss him sometimes, and a Black trans woman is beaten half to death. Number 2, I have lost count of the days I have imagined myself single again, teaching self-control to the self and to memory, defining Black inside the self and safety of distant communities, becoming resolute without conference, parley, or palaver. I want to burn something white, a police car maybe, the tubular light of someday precisely. The libation work of pouring gasoline and dropping the lit match, staining and singeing, making it red and Black and honest. The music, rubber bullets. Who is handing out bricks? Acting like they escaped from a zoo, lock them up at 5 p.m. so the streets can be nice and clean. Justice. Number 3, wearing a mask this time is advised. On the stretch of highway behind our apartment complex, fogged glasses and tear gas, helicopters hovering overhead, a call from a colleague. Happy birthday. Are you all okay? Did you know it was even happening? Number 4, domestic smoke occurs in the form of disagreement. My spouse holds himself up in the one bedroom of our one bedroom with nowhere to go while cross country at pandemic's midnight. I fill my Black Honda with Black Beyonce and indulge in unchaperoned rage. A police car finds some folk to pull over just ahead of me. I dead the speakers. I sleep on the couch. Number 5, I haven't watched anything I've set fire to burn. My mother watches my sister's live feeds from DC demonstrations. She professes protection and prayer over their ordered steps. She offers praise for her daughter who sits at home. The music, Joe shoot him in the leg, Biden. Today is a good day to arrest Breonna Taylor's murderers. Juneteenth sale, Columbus down the river. The Oprah special, where do we go from here? Number 6, my spouse tells me to get out after I say I'm leaving. We both know we have nowhere. We force love's resumption because we have nowhere. Why do we hate the ones we cannot protect? I love you from all the white people I know. Number 8, I'm trying to center. I cannot hold child's pose or corpse pose for 8 minutes and 45 seconds, but I can run in the university parking lot until I can't feel my feet. Email reads, petition, happy birthday, Breonna Taylor. I have no money. I am told my name is enough. Number 9, I always take him, always take him for granted because he is always more tired than I. There is no way to know, but I believe him and the memory of my godmother, hospital bound from COVID, dying alone on her stomach, visits me. And I am even more lonely than before. I dream about nothing, The music, you are about to lose your job because you are detaining me for nothing. A Facebook status about the police being slave catchers, Marvin Gaye and the Electric Side, all the brands in my favorite slave-built institutes monetizing solidarity claims, their lamb's blood on the doorpost. This is number 9. I cannot watch Black anyone lead white anyone in discussion without feeling a slight wave of nausea. He wants to have a baby soon. I don't know why. All I see is my unborn made strong and meek from carrying this more perfect union in a field of red geraniums upside down and swollen. Why do we hate the ones we cannot spare? The music, this vision, on repeat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexis. Everybody give it up for Alexis again. Wonderful, really appreciate it. Phenomenal poems. And thank you for allowing us the chance to see them while you read them. That just added another powerful touch to it. And Alexis also has a book coming out, so definitely keep that in mind. If you want to put that in the chat and give us the details, that'd be great. Okay, so Andres Vamonde is a graduate of Cornell University. He has worked on a bike delivery, worked as a bike delivery boy, a construction worker, a volunteer firefighter, a writing tutor for incarcerated students, a book reviewer, and he's currently a literary book scout for foreign book publishers and film producers. Andres was named a finalist in short fiction at the 2019 New Orleans Literary Festival and a semi-finalist in the Conium Review Short Fiction Contest. He lives in Brooklyn with 4 roommates and 4 fish. Everyone welcome Andres.
Hey everyone. A lot of that's not true anymore. We'll find out some of it as we go along. But thank you very much for having me here and for including me in the anthology. I'm going to read an essay that is titled "On Building a Retro Television Fish Tank and Other Thoughts About Growing Up." This was written in the fall of 2020, and it comes with a postscript. When my father was a young man, he found a television on the side of the road and turned it into a fish tank. Like many a family story, the details fog up when you look closely. But here's what I know. The event in question occurred sometime in the mid-1980s in Boston. He had just graduated college. He lived with roommates, friends, I believe, though I cannot confirm the degree of fealty. My father, like many fathers, had friends when he was young, like I am now. I find that idea very odd, sort of like how listening to your own voice on a recording is odd. A glib perspective, yes, I agree. Spare my youth. It's the child's curse to fail to see the parent beyond their performance in the role of parent. I know I am liable to miss clues this way. Here's a clue I missed, for example. Do not try to convert old televisions into fish tanks unless you understand the amount of effort involved. Before we go any further, dear reader, I would like to clarify something. Significant mention of a parent in the first paragraph of an essay sometimes indicates discontent. Nothing could be further from the truth. I love my father. Unreservedly, no complaint. He is an opinionated but humble man with a short temper behind the wheel and elsewhere deep reservoirs of empathy and patience that motivate his Manhattan socialist worldview. He is extremely useful, handy, and kind. He is the type of man who says yes. For example, 100 years ago, in October 2019, as I prepared to move into my very first adult apartment, I asked if he would help me build a retro television fish tank, like he did when he was my age. He laughed at me only once. As the story goes, my father found his television on the side of the road. The television in question is legendary, mythological. By all accounts, it was an old, wide thing with a protruding bulb encased inside a large rectangular wood frame. In order to provide a suitable sanctuary for fish, I needed an ancient television like that one. It would not come easy. I have more fingers on my hands than acquaintances who own televisions. Once I rushed a corner in Bed-Stuy after a friend posted an Instagram featuring, accidentally, an old-looking television in the background, sitting among trash bags. Only when I saw the thing in person, though, did I notice the gaping crack in its backside. And on my search continued like that, full of potential at first glance, ridden with holes upon further review. In North Brooklyn, in October 2019, you needed to buy a television in order to build a fish tank television. I know it smells phony, because it is. My penchant for 35mm cameras and vinyl records is one thing, but embarking upon a sequel to my father's brilliant repurposed invention with a purchased object instead of a found one, all of Holden's hunting caps in New York couldn't hide my shame. But I succumbed to eBay, and success came nearly instantly. After only a few keystrokes, I found her. Her name was 1940s classic General Electric TV television console. A foot wide, a couple feet high, a couple feet deep. Mostly the same color of light brown, spare a few blemishes. 2 doors on the front that open like a delicate liquor cabinet, my fish tank. During Thanksgiving break 2019, my father and I cut a 24 by 18-inch rectangle in the top of the mahogany frame of 1940s classic General Electric TV television console and gutted the bulb inside. An hour's storm of sawdust footprints later, we had a chunk of space enough for our fish tank. Next, we cleaned out the speaker system, upholstered it with a dark green cloth, and attached hinges to create an accoutrement drawer below the tank. Then we gave the frame a fresh coat of paint and doused it in sealant to discourage water damage. We configured LED lights, the Ravy multicolored ones, and hooked them up to the television's original knobs for channel and volume. By the time 2020 dawned, we were ready for fish. Time passed. I did not add fish. You know, things got in the way. COVID-19 and all that. Wuhan entered lockdown. I'd add fish next week, I said. Then the week after. Italy ground to a halt. Spain followed. The virus arrived in Seattle, then New York. My office shut down. I quarantined with my then girlfriend in her 1-bedroom apartment. I said I'd fill the tank with fish next month, then next. March dissolved into April, dissolved into May. I had good excuses. New York City in spring 2020 took bodies. We did not flatten the curve. Cases jumped. The city emptied. The only thing you heard out on the street were bird song and ambulance sirens. They started stacking the dead in refrigerated trucks. My grandmother got ill. My parents took care of her at home until the end. I watched the Zoom funeral in my girlfriend's apartment on mute and in tears. Then summer came, and the weather warmed, and hope sprung, and George Floyd was murdered. The people took themselves off airplane mode and swarmed the street. I tried to do my little somethings, but I felt helpless and useless and privileged and white. I felt stupid. My job drained me, my relationship teetered. I didn't look these problems in the face. I consumed copious amounts of marijuana. My swanky new retro television fish tank sat in my childhood apartment, dry and empty. Like many a good family story, I'd heard the story of my father's television fish tank many times since I was a young boy, and had long since settled into my psyche, where I welcomed it. You see, I need stories, dear reader. It can be hard for me to call things as they are. I need stories to give me what I otherwise cannot reach on my own. In their metaphors and their narrative arcs, stories carry the intangible truths of life that otherwise I shy from. For example, the story of my father's childhood dog running away after a family move, only to reappear on the front lawn of their old house halfway across town. That one represents the nostalgic urge to revisit youthful passions as one transitions from adolescence to adulthood. Or the story of my grandfather scaling a fence outside of a factory in rural Italy when the family car broke down, only to become stuck at the top, tearing his pants open on the barbed wire and needing assistance scaling down. That one represents the fight and ill-fated fortune of a young parent. So on and so on and so forth. How about the story of my father's fish tank television? For me, that story demarcates the moment a burgeoning adult begins to forge their own pathway from the path provided to them. Take the used putty of the past world and make it your own, the story says. By early summer 2020, I'd made nothing of my putty. My unused retro television fish tank haunted me. Everything was a fish tank. I'd be given more responsibility at the job I didn't want to keep and think, am I purchasing another vintage television on eBay? My then girlfriend and I would bicker about our differences in worldview, and I'd think, am I applying waterproof sealant to a television that'll never hold fish? It's said in baseball that when a batter is on a hot streak, every pitch coming in looks like a grapefruit. And when they're on a cold streak, a golf ball. Well, in early summer 2020, everything looked like a retro television fish tank to me, an uninformed and poorly planned self-selected obligation, representative of my oafishness, ineptitude, and habitual bullshittery. I had a great job, I had great friends, I had an aspiring, life-changing, long-term relationship. I ticked plenty of boxes, but with a pen lacking ink. I was shadowboxing life. I'd start something, leave a note to come back later, and hardly go back. I set up a lot of things. I made hopeful plans. I didn't follow any of them. I cannot recall my father ever suggesting directly that I finish the damn thing. If I ever brought it up, and surely I did sheepishly on many a catch-up Zoom, he'd simply shrug. No commitment, no direct guidance. At first, his silence grated on me. It kind of seemed like he didn't give a shit. Now, though, I think I understand his message. I will not coddle you, he was saying. You will not coddle yourself. Just be. If you want to do something, great, bueno, do it. If you don't, no importa, don't. A life is a series of choices. Some of them pan out, some don't. You make a lot of them either way, especially at the beginning. You just can't fret them too much. Just make the choice, see where it goes, act accordingly. Just do, be. I apologize, dear reader, but there's no proper resolution. Just some doubt, some hope, some uncertainty. But what more can we ask for? Definitive answers? Who could be so daft? We've no business with answers in 2020. The best we can do is hope to keep our ears open enough to hear the questions in the first place. That's what I tell my fish, at least, when I drop fingerfuls of food into their cool as heck LED light affixed 1940s retro television fish tank. Yes, I finished it. Now it's time for me to get started on everything else. Postscript. Dated January 22nd, 2022, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I write this from the future. In the time since I wrote that essay, plenty has changed and plenty hasn't. We swapped one old white man for another. We burned our masks and then we bought new ones. We got vaccinated and boosted, and after that, COVID. Back during the first of the many ends of the pandemic in December 2020, my other grandmother got her first jab, my father's mother. And then a couple weeks later, before her second dose, she got COVID and she passed too. And all four of the fish I kept in my cool as heck LED light affixed 1940s retro television fish tank, they've since died also. Hell, I don't even live there anymore in my very first adult apartment. I left 1940s General Electric TV television console there with my old roommates, but she's empty now, gathering dust, a piece of furniture, a gag, a memory, a story. I suppose you never get a definitive answer, no matter what timeline you're living in. Well, I don't care. I don't even want one. I don't want a job or a lease or anything concrete like that, and I don't have them. I'll just take the questions, please, the discarded putty, and try to make something of them. I'll just continue starting stuff and hopefully continue to continue some of them. For example, I want to be a writer. Well, I'm writing. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Andres. Really admire that piece, and thank you for the update on that. I will never look at a vintage TV or a fish tank the same again.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't live there anymore, but I'm currently at Bucknell University as the Philip Roth resident in creative writing, where I'm writing a novel about a family of charlatans traveling from Spain to Argentina to the United States. You can catch me on Twitter. I'll post my handle in the link for chat. Thanks so much, everyone.
Great, thank you, Andres. Looking forward to it. That's what's up. All right, so Erica Hofmeister is a rambling soul from Southern California who now lives in Denver, where she teaches college writing and advocates for media literacy and digital citizenship. She is the author of 2 poetry collections, Lived in Bars by Stubborn Mule Press 2019 and Roots Grew Wild by Kingdoms in the Wild Press 2019, but considers herself a cross-genre writer with works published in several journals and magazines. Welcome, Erica.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone. This is such an incredible lineup. Everyone's doing such different things. I love it. So hopefully I can add to it. Everything I'll be reading today is from my most recently finished manuscript that I literally just finished, and we all know what just finished means. It's been a few months of just finishing over and over, but hopefully trying to find a home for it soon. And one of those poems was published in the anthology, so I will start there and move through a few after that. Everything in this book is kind of dealing with my experience with early motherhood and becoming a parent, and the way in that experience triggers a lot of childhood trauma. So I try and approach those more depressing topics with a tinge of nostalgia and exploration in my experience. So that's that. So I'll start with the anthology poem, which is titled This House. And if you're following along, it's on page 123. This house is painted lullaby yellow and spackled with black mold. Its walls so thin, I've put my arm through them with the heartbeat pressure of a small hammer. A draft breathes from the crawl space where the mice infestation colonized last spring, invaded every drawer of newborn onesies with telltale droppings. Doors swell with moisture until their hinges crack off their frames, and snow drifts powder underneath each winter. When we called about the plumbing, we were told the lead pipes are 100 years old, and so we began to use a water filter. We've run out of considerate phone calls to our landlord, so we adapt, pay our rent on time, tell ourselves we're lucky to pay so little, as we watch our friends sail smoothly through the skyrocketing cost of living in this dying city. We've mourned our yard, sacrificed to the condo development behind us, our view now an empty lot, our trees ripped from their roots, a temporary chain link fence erected as a reminder we don't belong here. If poverty is a cycle, then I've been cycling regret in the tar pits of memory since I peed on that stick before my diploma even arrived, watched everything turn pregnancy test blue, and emit the scent of concrete shard footprints that follow me through every portal I've tried to escape through. Thank you. All right. This next one is a little bit longer. It's a prose poem or a hybrid piece. Like my intro kind of explained, I'm a cross-genre writer. Whatever that means, it just means I kind of write whatever I want to, and then I see what other people label it. So this one is called Slow Boil. According to legend, a frog will not notice the temperature of water increased and will let you boil it to death without moving, without realizing at all what is happening. According to science, the adage is a myth. Not only would the frog feel the water's temperature rising, it would move with certain panic, try to escape the boil, disintegrating its spindly legs into white, swirling membranes like hard-boiled eggs dropped recklessly in the pot, breaking shell. The body wants to jump out, it simply cannot. A slow boil, legs intact, internal thermometer that reads the same, maybe 1 or 2 degrees warmer. It's not that I don't want to jump from the violent hot bubbles scorching this new mother flesh, melting it from my bones, liquefying the marrow from the inside out. It's that I simply cannot. For reference, a scene in the film Dante's Peak, a spectacle of 90s B-movie. I saw it for the first time at the drive-in as a kid. In that parking lot refuge, my mom would bring us children to watch movies. Any night of the week, my dad got too drunk to be around. My younger siblings hid under our 1986 Suburban stained blue seats so that we'd only pay $10 total for 2 adult tickets, my mother and me. Always a double feature. That night, we unhitched the back bench seat from that old rusted white truck that growled loudly for after-school pickups, sat with the speakers pulled from the post to our ears, listened to the volcano rage. That opening hot spring scene, two teenagers, skinny dipped and daring, living some life I imagined would be mine one day, as I watched from that smelly old bench seat that sagged in the middle and smelled like the smokers who owned the truck before our parents, before my period came and bled the truths from movie screens and onto its upholstery. Testing my knowledge about intimacy, tension mounting, I felt just enough discomfort to bring the dented, loose drive-in speaker farther away from my face, saying something like, "Hey, do you want another burrito?" to my brother, before anything could happen between the two bodies projected beneath electrical wires. The volcano tempered below them, magically slow boiling the water in hyper speed before a single kiss could be exchanged in front of my prepubescent eyes. Their bodies melted from within. Neither could move, could jump from the boiling pot. Only bones and blood-stained proteins dripping dripping from mangled muscle were left when the actor who played James Bond found what was left of their remains. But as everything, this is an instance of myth, legend, untruth. They could have jumped out. They should have died from breathing in poison acid instead. Their bodies would have never actually boiled at all. I ruminate on lobsters, how we think we cannot feel pain as we throw them into already boiling water. Do they not deserve the frog's seemingly humane slow boil? Do their eyes not melt like the lovers in the hot springs? Do they not feel every little fucking bubble explode across their backs, their tiny antennae, those spiny little feet? Is it worth the buttery white meat left inside the boiled red carcass when it's all said and done? Did it pain you to watch me die? There was a time before all this, I think, when things were much easier than they seemed. When the water temperature was tepid, room temp, that slightly cooled off bathtub water, uncomfortable but survivable. This is not the temperature of motherhood. When I dip my toes in the bath that first moment, searing hot magma water, the blood in the tips of my toes retreat before I can acclimate, before growing to love it like the blood in my chest. A faulty internal thermometer designed to keep my body safe from boiling water. Slow boiled, it takes time. Measured in moments and weeks, the same routine bubbles over the turnover of a new day without notice. Things get harder, chaotic in its repetitiveness. My body thrashing through the gurgling, simmering, splashing, drowning. By now, it feels normal, like a skinny dip in some secluded hot springs, like a calm bath. I'm not moving at all. I'm trapped in a vat on a commercial-sized stovetop with the burners twisted high. A busty woman in a toque blanche is pressing the lid down against the pressure of air, the pressure of water, of body, swimming, spindling legs in hot water, whirling white swirls, not knowing, not able, not even wanting to jump. Thank you. All right. The next one is a shorty. It was just published in Cathexis Northwest Press, and it is called Curling Iron Anecdotes. I don't know if my mom is somewhere in the live stream, so sorry if she is ahead of time. It's a cool thing about being a poet, and then all of your family and friends get to like go into your internal investigation of your memory. Real fun. All right, Curling Iron Anecdote. To my mom's boyfriend from college and that stint at Round Table Pizza, who gifted her an unwrapped curling iron the same day my dad showed up on a motorcycle. To my grandmother, who kept the door closed the first time, the only time that mattered. To my teenage self, and that thing I used to tell you when I was angry. You should have just had the abortion. To my mother. All right, I have time for one more. So I will read the last poem in my manuscript, and it's titled Dandelion Heart. I want 100 legs instead of these unreliable 2. A centipede and its stop-sudden mirage of fright, landscaping dandelions for what they are, resilient, medicinal, caught between concrete domesticity and rebellion entrenched in slow-moving ferality. I want to be a horror show, my body amazing in the most traditional definition, flowing in rhythmic patterns, tidal, near villainous, terrifying those in my path simply by moving in my strange alien existence, earthly existence, scurrying and parting waves of humanity in my wake over pavement, through small gardens and damp soil. I wonder where centipedes go after the march of terror commences. I wonder if their families hug with 2 legs or all 100. If, like my mother, who needs all parts of her body to love, they smother their children with 100 little feet or hands or whatever limbs attach themselves to their sectional parts of entity. My 2 legs that carry this body, my inability to move my segments in sync, myself always twisting from its center, limbs flailing against harsh concrete, man-made obstructions, a horror show, dandelion heart, ordinary, someone always mistaking me for a weed. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Erica. Wow, so visceral. I love it. Those poems are just amazing and great titles. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. Okay, well, that's pretty much my spiel. My time is up. I'm gonna hand everything over to my lovely co-host, Mary McLaughlin Slechta.
Okay, so Lyndsey, every time you say lovely, I just want to get my husband in here and say, do you hear what she said? When you were reading about 2020, I almost, my heart clutched. Has it been that long? Oh my God, 2020, yeah. And thank you, the first half of this reading was wonderful. Just really enjoyed it. You guys can't imagine what it's like to read your work, to have read the work, and to go through the whole process of having the anthology get together, and then to finally have a chance to meet you all and to hear it come alive. It's really our great honor. I know Jane is here, David is here, and Lyndsey. George was in and out, and Thomas. We all say thank you very much. We appreciate it. I'm going to give a few announcements before we have our last 4 readers. There's a live show that usually happens on Sundays, a Sunday spoken word. It's gone back to Zoom. So I'm going to give you what's up for Zoom for January 23rd and January 30th. Tomorrow from 4 to 5:30 on spoken word, we're going to have Jim D. Duchars and Eric Richmond, plus an open mic. That always begins with an open mic. So if you're interested in reading, please go to our website and find out about that. On January 30th, next week will be Christine Tierney and Kristen Tamanasi, and I hope I got that right. And that, for some reason, the time on that says 4 to 6. I don't know if it's a little longer, but they both start at 4, so you'll see. Every Wednesday, it's amazing. It's a 10-minute feature that we do. Thomas Fukalora, AKA, I forgot who's AKA, Barbara Walters. And this Wednesday, January 26th, we'll have a 10-minute feature with Tanish Kaur, K-A-U-R. That's 7:30 to 7:40, and it's like just jam-packed, wonderful poetry. Please, if you can, join us sometime. I know Francine and see a few other faces that we see regularly. So we hope to see you there. All right, we got 4 readers to go. One fiction piece is going to be read, so I know you'll enjoy these. First up is Carl. Carl Watson is a poet, a fiction writer, playwright, and critic living in New York City. He is the author of several books of fiction, including Backwards, The Drowned Go Dreaming, Sensitive Skin books, and Ideals of Complicity, Fighting Devil. His poetry collections include Astral Botanica, Fly By Night Press, and Paradola, Autonomedia. I think my vision has gone over these last few years, but welcome, Carl. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can people hear me?
Just a little bit louder, if you would, Carl. A little bit louder, please. Yeah.
I'll try to make things louder. Yeah. All right. I just wanted to mention that since that thing was written, I had a novel that came out. Only to Descend came out last year. And I'm going to read a couple poems from this book of poems called Stage Fright that just came out. But the first poem I'll read is the one from the anthology. I guess it's on page 64. It's called Chasing Manatees. It's part of a series of poems that I wrote for Therese over the years, and this is one of them. We spent hours of afternoons chasing manatees in South Florida, but didn't know each other so well as we drove to the spots at the times that, according to the guidebooks, they were likely to appear. Trapped by roads and rush hour traffic, the sun growing low as our tensions grew high, there was something manic, desperate about our quest. Obsessive is another word, like chasing mermaids, white whales, holy grails, or proficiency on some bizarre instrument that only exists in fantastic tales and surrealist paintings. You just had to keep after it. Eventually the skies do open. The waters clarify like wine, and a great flowering then alters your pattern of thought as a path is revealed that just as quickly passes. But whether it lasts is no matter. It's only granted in given moments anyway, and you need to be open, newborn, and ready to accept it so you can share it back and forth over later years in looks of knowing what you once knew, chasing the marvelous in its certain recession, but watching it together. My voice is not gonna probably last through this, but these other two poems are in my new poetry book, and they were written during the lockdown time period of the last couple years. This one's about Facebook. So much is out there to like, it's hard to keep up. Even birthdays on Facebook are passive hard work, but they keep on coming, and you have to happy birthday all of them, or they won't happy birthday you back, and that'll hurt. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad everyone was alive, or everyone was born. It's just a bit oppressive environmentally. Maybe I should just quit the platform like I often threaten. This economy of reciprocal liking, caring, LOLing, it's like the brutal hallways of high school. Did you see what he's wearing? I liked you, but you didn't like me back, so you can't come to the party. I wonder, are people really offended if I don't click in time or at all? I doubt it. I mean, it takes hours just to stay in one place, and people post too damn much. I'm posting now, even as I criticize the practice. I can't stop myself, and I can't say I don't care what you ate for lunch or how your great aunt on your father's side is still an inspiration, because that would be cold. And I want you to like me later when I tell you I'm honored to have a poem in the new anthology about social media etiquette. Thanks for your support. Did I mention how my teeth seem to be falling out? And now I'm attacked by implant ads. I'm starting to feel a real need for weaponry. The social media militia are getting more aggressive than the New York State Department of Taxation, more insistent than listener-supported NPR. My phone buzzes all night with notices and suggestions, and even if I did try to off myself to stop it, nothing would come from the gun muzzle but emojis like cartoon bullets riddling my already weak identity with joke holes, the kind that sing when you blow on them. I know this because it's already happened. I hear what passes through me and I'm frightened. The void has arisen from its lax ubiquity to play these wounds and absent spaces, and I can make an instrument out of almost anything, even loneliness. An Aeolian harmonica plays sweetly in the deserted caves of a sandstone cliff. The droning drain pipes of Name Your City can soothe, but an organ made from the mouths of empty pop bottles and jelly jars scattered in a field after the great tragedy creates a symphony of whistles that no one will hear as the wind sweeps across the artifacts of a human spirit that once sought validation and love, but instead received a useless IOU generated by an algorithm that's still out there hunting. Okay, and this poem is called, I wrote this after in the spring of the year of our discontent. It's called The Exuberance of Spring. They say in the old days that a moose could call to each other over hundreds of miles, that the world was that quiet and you could hear them. The whales could talk from whole oceans away. But then we came along and we weren't happy about it, so we had to show how much fun we could have because we're different and we're special. I feel sorry for all the animals lost in what we brought. I have a book about the search for silence. A guy went all over the earth looking for one place where there was no human noise, none. I think he did almost find such a place in the farthest forests of North wherever. But then a plane flew overhead and fucked it up. And then another one, and then he heard a horn on a highway pretty far off, and then a crash. But the truth of the matter is this: the observer always alters the observed. So even if he did find that one truly quiet place on earth, he would destroy it with his loud brain. And he would probably have a phone too, so he could call his friends. Hey, man, I found it. You got to get over here, man. It's really fucking quiet. I mean, silencio, baby. And then they probably would come too with their maracas, six-packs, guitars, and bags of chips to celebrate this amazing quiet place. Then after a couple of days, they'd get uncomfortable and leave all their crap and go back to the city. I've gone into the forest myself to escape, but there's always some guy or gal sitting on a rock, bobbing their head to the tunes on their earphones, or hikers blabbering about their troubles back home, or some guy blowing a trumpet by a stream. I mean, for Christ's sake, what wildlife wants to hear that? I don't get why people have to bring it with them. Why can't they just leave it at home or in the clubs? Each person has to be a walking carnival these days. So insecure and cocky, they just really have to announce themselves constantly as if they don't exist, if they're not overwhelming everything around them with their unique be who you really are personalities. The highways and roads are just ribbons of engines and radio shouting, check me out, I got a car. SUVs are climbing rocks to those great secret lookouts, blasting John Denver's greatest hits just to get in the mood. Motorboats scar the Lake Placids and Walden Ponds of the world with their good time wakes, while ATVs rev loud down remote paths, expressing the free spirit. Get out there, go for it. And so they do. The neighborhood kids started a new metal band, and a chainsaw artist just moved down the hall. I feel like I live in the center of a CD of 8 billion people, and the noise just keeps spinning in towards me. The ring roads get closer every day like a noose. It's spring now, so the jackhammers are smashing concrete out on the street, fixing the electricity cables for the new high-rise, noise-free buildings, because the neighborhood has just been zoned for more noise, more progress, more fun, more income. And the workers are yelling so everybody knows they're working. Hey, I'm working here. I'm working here. You want a piece of me? And the bars are all outside now, and their patrons are shouting just to be heard and singing karaoke. Everybody in my building jumps around all day to the beat. They don't want to have to think, I guess. Even me. I turn on the radio when I get home so I won't feel alone. Last night I had a dream. I was running for my sanity. People were chasing me across the field, blowing oompa horns and banging pots and pans, trying to prove they exist by rattling their chains. But then it wasn't really a dream. It was a marathon, and the earth beneath my feet was in pain. Thank you, and thank you for Great Weather for Media for having me in their anthology and organizing this reading. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Carl. That was wonderful, and thank you for those flashes of humor. We need some humor, don't we? But I think you're serious about that noise, so hope you get some rest. All right, our next up is SaraEve Fermin. Sara is a performance poet and an epilepsy mental health advocate from Northeast New Jersey. She is the author of Trauma Carnival, Swimming with Elephants Publishing, 2019, View from the Top of the Ferris Wheel, Claire Songbirds Publishing, 2017, and You Must Be This Tall to Ride, Swimming with Elephants Publishing, 2016. She is currently working on a book of poems about mental health and the Netflix series BoJack Horseman. Welcome, SaraEve. there. Eve, are you there?
Now I'm there.
Okay, there you are. Great. Okay.
I'm like, can we? Awesome. Hi, everybody. And thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much to both of you lovely hosts who are doing an amazing job. Thank you to Great Weather for Media, who keeps believing in me and putting me in front of their Zoom screen, because it's the only time I ever use it, honestly, for Great Weather for Media. Everybody else can Zoom away. I'm going to be reading the poem that's from the newest collection, Paper Telling Diorama. And then I'm going to read another poem that was from our previous collection. So I'm going to be staying in the vein. But I'll start with this one, which is from my BoJack Horseman book, which is finished the same way that I believe it was Erica said her book is finished, which means, you know, it's just a bunch of pages that are just sitting somewhere now and saying, do something with me. So that's me right now. So this is Mr. Peanut Butter, the election 2020. And again, this is about BoJack Horseman. If you are a Mr. Peanut Butter fan, I'm sorry, you're not going to like it. Mr. Peanut Butter didn't vote early, had the time, just never got around to it. Changes parties every 4 years, doesn't think Trump is a bad guy or anything. Says he won't vote Republican this time. Nothing to do with the party, just can't stand hearing them talk about tax brackets or wealth disparity or civil injustice. Every time he shows up to work, it reminds him of his ex-wives too much. Ugh, what a drag, right? Always believes women, yet always there for his bros who can't tell the difference between a no and a no. It's just all so messy in the real world these days. Tunes out at premieres when the reporters ask him what he thinks about taxing the super rich or depression or his super problematic best friend. So tired of being attached to yet another tragedy, so tired of being ignored, starts going to support meetings for seeing eye dogs just to feel a little less sad, like an addict who sits outside a bar to remind themselves of how many days of sobriety they've collected, thinks toxic masculinity is something you catch from a toilet seat, but hey, he pees standing up, so isn't worried about it. Anti-gun, but pro-war, like a sober person who thinks buying a drink is a favor. I mean, it's not his fault, right? He's just a sad dog, not a bad dog. Calls loneliness a party that's just gone off a bit. Isn't waiting for the numbers like the rest of us. Stumbled into a voting booth only after getting on a long line just to see where it was headed. Had 8 hours to kill, and isn't that such a rich man's gamble? Says he doesn't really mind who wins either way, and I wonder what it's like to have that privilege, to always wear the narcissist smile of either way, I'm gonna come out on top. So that was in Paper Telling Diorama, which I'm very proud of. This is How to Lie About Recovery, which, if I'm correct, was the first time that Great Weather for Media put me in one of their anthologies, and I will be grateful ever since. So this is How to Lie About Recovery. Buy locks, but no keys. Hide them where you used to stash the donuts. Learn to drink cup after cup of black coffee. Let the caffeine churn your gut into silence. When you begin to vomit up excuses, stuff them in the back of the underwear drawer with all the bras that do not fit. Put all knives in a vase or a decorated coffee can. Become a celebration of every wound, every scar, every bite. Relearn sunshine, how to gag, how to use a question without flinching, how to swallow an apology like rotten milk. Swat the flies away from their compliments. You look so much better now, before, in black, when you smile. Now, take the 320 bridge across the George Washington. Gaze longingly at the hospital you gave almost a decade of your life to. Play songs on the collarbones you developed only when they couldn't find a vein good enough to feed you liquid through anymore. When everyone goes to bed, In the thickest night, the only time you feel small enough not to matter, make your move. Cut off your least desirable limb. Deliver it to her, gift wrapped. Ask the mirror, now, isn't that enough? And again, I will forever be eternally grateful for Great Weather for Media for giving that piece a home. This is not a BoJack Horseman poem, but it is still a new poem, and it was published in Soup Can Magazine's second issue. And I'm going to read this one too because I like it. This is Shame is a Burn Book I Keep Finding My Name in. It is the way he kissed me, both eyes and blood rum shot, the bats that chirped out a night sweet and sick, the drink and the room darker than memory, the bus ride home unable to pull the night from the bottom of wet newspaper and regret. It is the way I wore his letters into a cotton, corners fuzzy, and how I tried to learn his handwriting, how he sucked a kiss onto the back of my neck on the avenue, busy Thursday after school, like a boy squeezing a peach too hard, bruised, let everyone see the merchandise, and never spoke to me again. It is the way I keep collecting boys with shady pasts. Mike, who they said may have burned down the monastery, Eddie, who was deported for dating an underage girl he swore he was in love with, another Lewis, another boy in the band. None of us are performers because we know how to love. We are all looking for a hole to fill with someone's catcall saxophone. It is the way I use their birthdays as passcodes. The hallway I cannot walk down anymore, the way I contemplate burning down a whole city because I don't know where you are. I only know that people afford you space and they should know better. It is the way I still can't tell them what happened. Still, I'm not sure what happened only happened because I invited it in. You can't go blaming a stray cat for dropping kittens in your closet. It is the way the mothers of their children know what happened and still talk to me, the way I respond to their messages, as if there is enough advice I can offer in return for what I may have undone. And then I'm going to read one more from Trauma Carnival, which is my latest and favoriteest book. I love them all. I love all my babies. I love they're all beautiful. I am an epilepsy advocate. I've been living with epilepsy for what is going to be 20 years next year. I'm a brain surgery survivor. I've had 2 of them actually. And so I like to talk about the things that do not get spoken about, epilepsy being one of them. But I really like this poem because a lot of people ask me, what does a seizure feel like? And I usually respond with, I don't know, ask the woman what it feels like when they had a kid, because we kind of just block out what happens in order to get through. But one day I was able to write this and I called it Confession 1. And the epitaph is, this is dying. I know because I have done it before, which is from the book, The Gunslinger. What I need you to understand is nothing about this life is new, but everyone is. Just like they say, women forget the pain of childbirth, and this must be true. How else would the world go on? I cannot describe the fear, the betrayal, this once brilliant brain still able to access so much that refuses to behave on command. See the world melt away in slow motion, the body, leaving the crime scene. See the mess, the fall, the cry for help, the lilt in voice indicating terror. I have swallowed myself whole in an attempt to disappear the magic show that is my collapse and rebirth, but still I am learning. I am the magic, the circus, the painted lady, and the getaway act. I have swallowed entire bottles of pills to get rid of my broken parts Have you ever ripped the guts out of your printer and expected it to work? That is what I call my 20s. This typewriter gone cold, calculator with no buttons, the iron that is now silent, space for everything, yet nothing is ever where it should be. At this point, I could call Lost in the Dark home. At least the dark stays where it should, doesn't leave you grasping for gravity. This baby book, blank pages, medical chart overflowing, this brain, another betraying lover. Thank you so much to everybody who has read. Thank you so much for organizing this. Thank you so much to the hosts, and thank you so much, Great Weather for Media. I am not really on Facebook that much, but you can still find me on there if you have anything for me. Quick wrap up.
Thank you, SaraEve. That was amazing. That just hit me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
like
honored.
taking it, like you said, taking us someplace where we've never been, and you have fought to find that place. Thank you so much. That means a
Oh,
lot.
thank you. Thank you. I'm honored.
And as to everyone, like SaraEve, it's so great to see you all working and getting these books out there in the world. Keep up the good work, guys. And if you haven't noticed, Jane Ormerod put a link or a special that we're doing in terms of ordering the anthology and getting a book. So make sure you go up in the comment section of the chat, and you'll see what she's had to say there. And I think she just put something there. Yep, greatweatherformedia.com store and everything. So you can find all these wonderful anthologies and the other works that we publish. Okay, next is Myles Taylor. Myles is a transmasculine poet. Yeah, he's already got a shout out. Organizer, barista, award-winning poetry slam competitor, and Emerson College alum. He's also Capricorn Aquarius cusp and a glitter enthusiast. They run Moonlighting, a queer open mic, and host at the Boston Poetry Slam. Their work can be found in the Shallow Inns, Academy of American Poets, Washington Square Review, Underblong, Crab Fat Magazine, Slam Find, and others. Welcome, Myles.
Hi, folks. It has been a long time since I've done this because I don't love the Zoom thing, but I'm realizing I'm gonna have to adjust if I want to stay relevant. So here we are. I love Great Weather for Media. I found Great Weather for Media at the New York Poetry Festival in like 2016 or 17 when I was like a tiny baby. And I went to like the festival on like I don't know if it's on like Governor's Island or what, but I just, I knew Thomas Fucaloro through Union Square Slam and found him working the table, and I was like, look at this. And then I've been like, reading the anthologies since, and a really great lit mag that I love a lot. So I'm going to read the poem I have in the anthology, which is a poem that I actually like. I really, really love this poem, and I'm very proud of this poem, but this is something that like nobody's really wanted to publish. And my very talented friend told me like, oh, it's because it's two different poems. You should split it into two different poems. And I was like, no. And then you guys published it, so I feel great about that. So I'm gonna read it now. It's called High Violet, which is a reference to an album by The National, which is one of my favorite bands because I'm a sad piece of shit. Cool. Gender and desirability are not the same.
Myles,
They,
Myles, can you do something with your volume? For some reason, we're not hearing you clearly.
oh, how about now?
Yeah, that was good. Good, just change them.
Thank you. I think I put my laptop down directly on the microphone. Maybe.
We heard everything else. It's only when you just started reading. So just start again.
Okay, cool. Gender and desirability are not the same, but they attend the same terrible house. Perhaps play kings and pretend they are having fun being personified the same way I do all the time. But talk about body language and signals. I don't know what it is.
Myles, I'm sorry, I gotta stop you. Maybe if you just a little bit back from the mic, we don't want to miss anything, okay? Just.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like right. If you just, you're gonna have to be like me. I like to move, but if you just kind of very still.
Okay, how about now?
Yes, don't move. Just keep reading. Okay, thanks.
Okay, this is fun. It's weird. I don't know why it's doing that today. It's okay. Cool. Starting over again. Cool. I don't want to take up all this time. Whatever. Okay, it's fine. Gender and desirability are not the same,
Just read
but
some
they
poems live. Hope
but
you
they
were
attend
here.
the same terrible house parties. Perhaps play kings and pretend they're having fun being personified the same way I do all the time when others talk about body language and signals. I don't know what it is to be desirable because I don't know anything other than desire. I just want. My gender is negative space around a want I can't even make out the shape of sometimes. Smoked line, a Microsoft Paint level gradient. I'm trained in figure drawing, you know. A pencil is a shitty reference point unless it's the only thing you're holding. Sometimes my cat screams at nothing for hours. We do everything he asks of us and nothing will satisfy his cursed wail. Sometimes I wish I could express my existential longing in a similar fashion, but I think I'd be hospitalized maybe. I fantasize about loss of control and like maybe trying bondage one day. And then I put on a weighted blanket once and freaked the fuck out. I like the idea of anything at all, but everything in practice is terrible, except any night I have company that can talk as fast as me or the moment I am eating a very good meal. I want so much more than other bodies, but one feels more doable than the other, in theory. In practice, I'm trying to write under a weighted blanket and my cat is being exceedingly loud. To relinquish control, it's to decide my body and mind are not worthy of their time. This is the only self-love I've figured out how to employ other than a face mask. Every time I get hungry, I feel like the world is going to end. I'm in control of everything I do. I just make a point of being stupid sometimes, allow myself a wider range of thoughts. I only want to die when I'm holding in a feeling or putting thoughts in other people's minds. I never promised to be reasonable. Get this fucking thing off of me. Let me ground myself in peace. Cool. I have a whole project of poems based on songs by The National. If anyone else likes The National and wants that chapbook, I have it. I also have a chapbook I recently made about being in the food industry. I'm just so bored of writing more like, I don't know, I feel no solidarity between trans people that are rich and like on the cover of magazines, as opposed to like, you know, the people in the working class with me. So I've been writing a lot more about food service and working class stuff, which is, I guess I'll read this one first. No, I'll save that one for last. This one's a brand new one. I haven't read this one out loud yet. I haven't been able to write really in the pandemic at all, but like I'm giving it a shot again. So this doesn't have a title. It's just a bunch of question marks. I know I'm sprouting fangs, but just pretend they're like little candy corns or slips of paper I've swallowed to keep secrets. Let's say they're yours. When I come back, it's like I've blacked out. I hate when I leave myself. I find my face on a spoiled carton. I met myself up on a flagpole. Like, what the fuck, God? People keep asking me, how are you? But I can't even answer like who. So I don't know how I'm supposed to make it past the W's. I mostly know when. Hell if I know why. Which ones am I missing? Whatever. What's new? Festering, thanks. Photosynthesizing, letting myself sink into the floor. You ever get a Grindr message without remembering that you made a profile? This is the T-shot blues. Everybody clap along. I thought I had a grip on myself and then slipped right out again. I just feel like a showgirl bursting out of a cake every time. How am I? You tell me. Mostly I'm just that moment after a birthday party, a vacation, where you just feel the air cup your body as it settles into some chair and you reach wrist first into your chest, pulling the heartbeats back out. Cool. I don't feel like really doing that many poems. So I guess I'm just gonna do this next one and then I'll be chill. But I am also sending out a manuscript that is mostly about writing through the possibility of what non-toxic masculinity means, especially in a working class context. So if anyone knows any presses that would be down for that, please let me know because nobody seems to want it so far. But that's okay because I'm sure you have to get a lot of rejections before you get acceptances. Oh, I forgot about this poem. Okay, 2 more poems. Cool. This poem's called Phil. Content warning on this for mentions of past self-harm and also medication. Nearly hollowed by the rough dig of a dry swallow, my throat, countless forced shocks, handfuls of ibuprofen before I was told the headache was not an ache at all, but a fire drill, a growth only the neck Lexapro could knee. The acne pills as well, their size making friends squirm, but I was well practiced, so they dropped in, dragging throat cells like DNA found under fingernails, collections of the fight they put up every time. This is all to contextualize the doctor's confusion when I, who happily thread needles into my fat, put the boy in me who spends all this time filling with medicine, admitted that I couldn't handle a blood draw. But you're so good with needles. It's never been about the sharp, it is about the loss. The way my body hoards whatever I collects, you see. I can control the accumulation, but the exiting, the removal is a greater unknown. I am a superstore inside with a built-in pharmacy, raised by hoarders, born of a class of always lesser possession, not a temple because nobody else is allowed inside, not even the nurse who taught me how to inject the testosterone. That's right. I did my first shot myself, much to her shock and my resolve. I am a beloved first vehicle, a meticulous bedroom I consume and I fill. I tried it once, okay? I did. Bad enough where the blood dripped and I saw it on the carpet and I decided that had to be the last time because that was mine. I put a lot of work into that blood, yeah. I absorb like a pumice stone. I eat frighteningly healthy. I hold to my body like the only one I'll ever get. I tell myself it'll be okay, and I believe myself. I believe myself when I am asking myself alone to take. Okay. So I'm gonna leave with a poem about food service that I'm working on. I feel really passionate about it and I want it to be really good, and it's very rough so far. So hopefully reading it out loud will help me do some editing. But the context for this is, I'm sure all of you have heard the phrase unskilled labor thrown around, particularly if those of you, I'm from outside the New York City area, have been very disappointed in Eric Adams. And I'm very pissed off that he called people who work at Dunkin' Donuts low skill, when working at Dunkin' Donuts is 5 times harder than, I want to say, most office jobs. And I'm going to say that with full commitment. So this is about that idea of low skill. It is called unskilled labor. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to drop my socials and my website and stuff for those who are interested. And thank you for everyone else who's read. This has been a really fun open. Cool. My barber uses gilded scissors, hooks in the wall, perfect to their height where the razors hang in size order, faded stickers on their cases of a million defunct bands rusting into various iPod nanos and various coffee table drawers. You ever see a place full of more years of love than you've been alive? Painstaking care. Watch the faithful office attendant's daughter grow through each addition of the wall. A house painter's pants match every few buildings he walks by, like the city is copying him. Have you ever watched a line cook so seasoned it looks like they're dancing? The clatter of bowls flipping into bus bins like a steel drum, banging the skillets together to clear the crusted rice. Have you watched your barista pull a Rosetta without looking? Someone folds every crisp shirt on that boutique floor. Have you ever watched 5 prep cooks navigate a 3-foot hall without bumping each other? Like the wrong sides of magnets sliding by one another, and one of them has a knife. Watch a video of a farmer pulling leeks like candy floss. The hotel maid's methodical rounds. Have you ever listened to workers' conversations? Some of it is smooth work jargon, but sometimes you find out who has a paper to write, whose sculpture just got bought, who's playing a show tonight, who's been up since 4 a.m. at their other job doing a whole different dance, playing a whole new song of movements they do like second nature, like their country is the size of fatigue mat and they've mapped every corner. These are the smartest, most organized, most interesting people you will ever meet. I guarantee are your money back. And after you watch our ceremony and consume its fruit, you try to define skill. Say that before you order next time. Or go home. to your marble kitchen you don't use. Hear your footsteps' awkward rhythm reverb through your house. Make your meal to go for the office across from the spouse you don't speak to, so skilled in everything under the dollar bill and nothing besides, so skilled in being handed things, such talent in holding. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Myles. That was great. Love getting that new work in progress too. Good luck with that. You are definitely on the way with that. All right, our last reader today is coming all the way from Los Angeles, and this is Carol V. Davis. It's been a really wonderful day, Carol, and we look forward to hearing you bring us home with this. Carol V. Davis is the award-winning author of books including Because I Cannot Leave This Body, Truman State University Press, 2017, Between Storms and Into the Arms of Pushkin, Homes of St. Petersburg. Her first book, It's Time to Talk About, was published in a bilingual English-Russian edition. Twice a Fulbright Scholar in Russia, she has also taught in Siberia and currently teaches at Santa Monica College in Antioch University in California. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm thrilled to be in the anthology, and thanks everyone for sticking around. So I'll read the poem in the anthology. It's on page 71, and it came out of my first trip to Russia. It's called Mailman as Spy, 1975, His Side. I don't know what excited the most, the oversized Sputnik stamps, heft of the box mailed from the Soviet Union, my first ever, Cyrillic letters on the return address. I ring the bell, thrust the torn box into the arms of the young woman who answers the door, disheveled braid down her back, book in her hand, with the same alphabet as on this package. I linger, so many questions I do not ask her. Hers. I don't know this mailman. He is standing on my doorstep too long. I am not expecting a package. My grandfather disapproves of my Russian studies. What would our life have been had he not fled the Tsar's army? Survival uncertain in Russia, but if he had not escaped, sent to the front in World War I. We no longer had family in the USSR that I knew of when I had gone in 1973. A guide shadowed me, though I wandered the web of buildings in Red Square alone. On a train to the cities of the Golden Circle, a worker gave me an orange. At 18, I did not know danger, pocketed letters from Russian acquaintances to mail once I crossed the border. The box. 2 art books, one about Rembrandt in German, the other art from the Hermitage in Russian. At 6'8", the man who sent these books to the American student he met through friends stands out on Leningrad streets. Conspicuous already, he does not worry about threats. Hadn't Khrushchev already condemned his paintings and those of his ilk at the 1962 Moscow Manege exhibit? Standing in front of these nonconformist paintings, Khrushchev swore until one artist, a war veteran, tore off his shirt to show the battle scars on his back. 1976, Leningrad. Pravda claimed the fire an accident, blaming paint and solvent, a 19th century building on the Neva. The artist studio, a jumble of canvas, brushes, stretcher boards, igniting quickly. The American press reported the death of the 32-year-old artist, mysterious. His wife and children, who survived, emigrated to the US soon after. The painting hangs 40 years later in the former student's living room. Artist's signature brushed out when she smuggled out the canvas on the train to Finland. Mailman as spy. He was too interested. Did he turn in her name? To whom? Keep it pinned to the corkboard in his studio apartment? She has never been turned down for a visa for her many trips back to Russia. Every time she applies, she worries. So many administrations, Yeltsin, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Putin, now Trump. Which side has the file on her? The next poem came out a few years ago in Prairie Schooner, and it's references, I was in Siberia for a month in January 1918. It's called January. It is cold. I am in Siberia. Why should I be surprised? The temperature does not fall. Too cold for such sudden movement. It inches downward, always and only in one direction. At 2 a.m., I could not sleep. Looking out the window, mounds of snow seemed to pulse as if they needed to move to stay alive. In the morning, a blackbird pecked along a bare branch, like hands feeling along black and white keys to coax out a melody. I used to think a man crouched under a piano, hitting his little hammer on the strings to release the notes. The bird gives up, flies away. They say the young are leaving Ulan-Ude for Petersburg, for Moscow, abroad. What kind of life is left here? The steel factory closed, its great painted doors bolted, as if there were anything left inside. Even the ghosts of Soviet bosses have decamped to a Cyprus beach or the fading boardwalks of Sochi. Before I left home last week, a man froze to death in Chicago on church steps, a porch. I don't remember. Think of the men who carried down the body, rigid, sitting as if on a throne, or like the groom carried on a chair at his wedding, and the poor bride hanging on for dear life, grasping a white handkerchief as her husband catches the other end, a symbol perhaps of the fragility of marriage. No wonder Los Angeles has the highest number of homeless. Winters mild, rain now scarce, but further north, fires with voracious appetites do not subside in autumn. No such thing as fire season anymore. So I'll read one more Russian poem from this last trip. It's called An Answer for Everything. Only my second time in Siberia, so I cannot say the -18 today is usual or not. All around, people walk to buy groceries or wait for the morning tram. Sidewalks not brushed clean these past 8 days, the official New Year's holiday. A sheen of ice slicks the walkways like a child's face in need of scrubbing. I have been thinking about string theory, how to explain the universe. Yes, the pull of gravity, but its opposite too, an electromagnetic force attracting, then repelling. If only the world were so easily explained. Last year's rains in California, followed by an explosion of new growth in the forests. We marveled at the green stubble on the hills of the Sepulveda Pass, usually parched a dull brown. Reassured ourselves the drought was over, but summer fires, more ferocious than ever, tore through cities usually inured, then intensified in late fall, persisting even into winter months. Now it is a new year. 16 hours into the future, on the other side of the world, I gaze into the darkness of a Siberian morning. My phone clicking with photos of home, where rain is unleashing hillsides. Long parched, the earth gives way, pulling down houses and everything in its path. And I'll finish in Oregon. This was from a residency at Playa. It's called Driving on Highway 31, Summer Lake, Oregon. Rounding a bend, it wasn't the black ice that startled me from tedium, but the white church perched on the hillside. No road, no driveway, no trees, just scrub low to the ground, bleached of color. No cross on its roof bearing the promise of heaven, no sign declaring its allegiance. Abandoned by the mother church or too few locals to support it. Its pastor lured to a city where pews can fill a flock to follow his sermons. The front facade a ghostly presence, not even a handle on its double doors. Can a person ever find salvation? A cardboard cutout, its generations of stories locked inside or thrust out, strewn across this desolate two-lane highway as lumber trucks roar by, scattering pebbles in their wake. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. That was a lovely ending. And thank you for taking us from Russia and the wonderful poem about the spy, the mailman as spy, which Jane says, yeah, we all wanted to hear that one aloud, all the way to Oregon. And thank you to all the readers today. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful afternoon. There's more poetry to be had if you're free tomorrow and any Sunday.